The second film in this trilogy is Life and Nothing More. It's a story intertwined with the aftermath of one of Iran's most devastating earthquakes, the Rudbar earthquake. Let me give you some context about this tragedy and why it left such a profound mark on the people portrayed in the film. On June 20th, 1990, the Rudbar earthquake struck northern Iran at a magnitude of 7.3 on the Richter scale. It remains one of the deadliest earthquakes in the country's history. Over 35,000 people lost their lives, nearly 60,000 were injured, and more than 500,000 were left homeless. Entire communities were reduced to ruins. Around 200,000 homes were completely destroyed, leaving countless families in despair. This is the backdrop against which the film unfolds. At its core, Life and Nothing More follows two main characters, a film director and his son, Puya. Their journey takes them through the heart of the earthquake-stricken region, where they witness the harsh realities of survival and resilience. Their story isn't just about the earthquake, it's about the people, the spirit of survival, and the search for meaning amidst devastation. The film is more than just a story, it's a real journey, a journey Abbas Kiarostami himself took with his son following the catastrophic Rudbar earthquake. But don't get it confused, the director in the movie isn't Kiarostami himself. The subtle separation between reality and fiction is an essential part of the film's layered narrative. The movie picks up as people are crossing a highway toll booth, a mundane activity yet one that highlights something deeply unsettling. Even in the face of such an enormous crisis, where people have lost homes, loved ones, and a sense of normalcy, the toll booth keeps operating. It's almost inhuman. The system ignores the scale of the disaster and continues its routine, extracting money from those already struggling to survive. Pay attention to the fact that the toll booth operator's face is not shown. But that's life, isn't it? It moves forward, even when it feels like it shouldn't. This is reflected in Puya, the director's son, whose endless stream of questions to his father injects the film with a childlike perspective on tragedy. His questions are simple, even naive, but they remind us of something profound: how children make sense of a world shaken by chaos. A little later, Puya steps out of the car, needing a moment of himself by the roadside. But nature calls to him in more ways than one. His curiosity takes over as he spots a grasshopper and playfully catches it. His father, however, is quick to warn him. The grasshopper, he says, is dirty, potentially dangerous, even a source of illness. Here the grasshopper becomes more than just an insect. It's a metaphor, one that captures the youthful spirit of play, discovery, and hope for something beyond the present. He isn't just playing, he dreams of nurturing this tiny creature, helping it grow, and ultimately releasing it to migrate. This idea of migration, of knowing when to leave and where to go, is something Puya already understands. It's a sign of his growing awareness of the world. But to the older generation, this dream feels uncomfortable, foreign, even threatening. Unable to bear the idea, Puya's father demands him to let go of the grasshopper. And eventually, Puya is forced to toss it out of the car window, a heartbreaking moment. As the car exits a tunnel, Puya and his father reach a devastating scene. People are digging through the wreckage, searching for loved ones and remnants of their lives. Entire homes have been reduced to dust, and the weight of the disaster hangs heavy in the air. The father steps out of the car, his movements slow and deliberate, as if weighted down by the enormity of what he's just seen. Nearby, a wounded child, left alone in a cradle, cries inconsolably. In a quiet act of compassion, the father soothed the child. This moment stands in a stark contrast to Puya's earlier fascination with the grasshopper. Puya dreams of raising a grasshopper and helping it migrate, a symbolic gesture of nurturing freedom. But his father's response is different. He's focused on the present, on comforting injured and healing the immediate wounds of a broken generation. Puya becomes fixated on something seemingly minor, finding a soda. But this soda isn't just a drink. It becomes a symbol of comfort, of fleeting pleasures, and of the privileges that often seem out of reach in times of crisis. One shop offers one of these luxuries. The shopkeeper, too absorbed in his own struggle to restore order, has no time of such indulgences. This absence of joy mirrors the lives of people too consumed by survival to even think about the small pleasures of life. But further ahead, Puya's desire is unexpectedly fulfilled. He finds a soda, dusty, warm, and sitting in a fridge without an owner. This discovery is far from the ideal he imagined. It's not refreshing nor satisfying, and it leaves him feeling worse than before. It's as if the harsh reality of his surroundings finally catches up to him, souring even the simplest pleasure. But what Puya sees as a disappointing indulgence means something entirely different to others. For her, even this dusty, lukewarm soda is precious, not for pleasure, but for survival. It's not about joy or comfort, it's about making do with whatever small fragments of life are still available, finding sweetness in the bitterest circumstances. This moment reflects the film's deeper message. Kiarostami isn't passing judgment on who deserves these pleasures or how they should be sought. Instead, he invites us to witness how desires shift in times of tragedy, how luxury becomes a necessity, and how survival transforms even the simplest acts into profound gestures. One of the central themes that derives in this film is a tension between certainty and uncertainty. The destinations in this story are without clear signs. There's no certainty, no assurance of what lies ahead. Despite his warning, he persists. He chooses a dirt road, one that others have dismissed, and continues to ask for guidance at every turn. This is a road of trial and error, where certainty is impossible, and yet the journey itself becomes the focus. In this wandering, the father stumbles upon an old friend, Mr. Ruhi. The absurdity of this moment, the toilet perched atop the car, framed by the majestic hills, brings a subtle touch of humor to the otherwise introspective journey. Before moving forward, the father asked whether any cars pass along this narrow dirt road. The question itself feels futile, as the answer is always uncertain, and yet he asks it anyway, and the result is, "This wasn't God's doing," he says. "It was just a calamity, like a hungry wolf tearing through some and sparing others, nothing more." Their path leads them to Mr. Ruhi's temporary home, a makeshift shelter pieced together after his house was destroyed in the earthquake. It's at this point in the film that something extraordinary happens. The fourth wall is shattered, not with a dramatic gesture, but subtly. As the scene unfolds, Mr. Ruhi begins to peel back yet another layer of illusion. He reveals that the house from Where's the Friend's House wasn't his real home. It was a fictional construct for the film. And this house, too, he explains, isn't his real home. It's another movie house, as he puts it. Mr. Ruhi looks for a bowl, but unable to find one, he finally calls for help. Even Kiarostami's voice can be heard faintly in the background, instructing his assistant to assist Mr. Ruhi. Puya is now playfully wandering through the village, trying to quench his thirst. The faucet becomes a metaphorical waterhole for his curiosity. Both literally and figuratively, Puya quenches his thirst. He listens to her story. She's a widow, a mother who has lost her husband and one of her children in the earthquake. Now she's left to raise 3 others on her own. Puya attempts to comfort her. He parrots words he's heard from others, using religious reasoning to suggest that her loss wasn't divine punishment. It wasn't fate, it was just an unfortunate event, void of cosmic intention. Puya's father meets a villager, a man who has just gotten married. The man explains that their wedding took place just 5 days ago, barely a day after the earthquake struck. Their wedding night was spent beneath a plastic tarp, cooking tomatoes over a small fire. He admits, "We had no choice but to marry sooner. Who knows if we'll even survive the next earthquake?" In his wanderings, Puya comes across a face from the Where's the Friend's House, one of the actors from the film. Moments later, the father and Puya meet him by chance along the road. They stop to offer him a ride. Puya's father asks the actor if he has any news from the others, fellow cast members from Where's the Friend's House. The actor shakes his head. He doesn't know where they are. He describes the chaos of that night, the suddenness with which everything fell apart. He shares the pain of losing his uncle in the disaster. As they continue their journey, the actor points out the path to Koker, explaining that they'll need to pass through the area where tents have been set up for survivors. After reaching the tents, Puya's father approaches 2 young girls washing dishes near the campsite. As he does through the film, Puya's father assumes the role of a listener and comforter. He questions through symbols seem to offer a momentary solace, a reminder that they are seen, their stories heard amidst the rubble of their lives. Breaking the calm, Puya announces his intention to stay behind with the villagers while his father continues to conquer. His reason? A football match. Puya is captivated by the villagers' determination. Despite the crushing weight of loss, they make every effort to set up a TV antenna for the match. In Life and Nothing More, the TV antenna takes on a peculiar role. It becomes a character of its own. On the day of the earthquake, the world beyond the devastation was abuzz with the excitement of the 7th FIFA World Cup match. Conversations in the film constantly circle back to the question, who played that night, Scotland versus Brazil or Argentina versus Brazil? Who won? Throughout the film, this role of the father, inviting others into calm conversations, offering a moment of solace, emerges as a central theme. The final destination, the village of Kokar, is ultimately an alibi. It's not a place, but an idea, a symbol for self-discovery and connection with nature. The journey to Kokar is deeply personal, much like our individual search for meaning. The father's constant asking for directions becomes a metaphor for life itself, a never-ending search for clarity, for purpose, for a way forward. Sound familiar? It's a question we've all asked. Am I on the right path? Thank you for watching, and as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time.